Church. It is Pastor Bill here.
And Pastor Mark.
Hey, we are struggling a little bit today with technology. Technology doesn't always work for us, but we are thankful that God has given us ingenuity and the ability to make plans and then not go with the plan sometimes.
Yeah, so, flexibility.
We're like Gumby. Anyway. Hey, I'm going to pass you over to Pastor Mark real quick. Pastor Mark, the question for the day is this.
Uh-oh.
If you had $3 to get anything you wanted at McDonald's, what would it be? $3 to get anything you want at McDonald's.
I usually just get things for my kids at McDonald's, so I don't know. A sweet tea would definitely be on that list.
I would pick a ice cream sundae.
An ice cream sundae, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sweet tea, large sweet tea would be on that list. I don't know what other things cost, so I don't know what I would use my other $2 for. Something that sounded good at the time.
That's fair.
Your turn. So ice cream sundae, is that it? I don't think that's $3, is it?
Well, an ice cream sundae is actually like only $1.
Okay, so you got $2 left.
I got $2. I might go with like a McDouble to go along with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would do.
Okay.
Hey, if you are watching, I think we got a person watching, so that's cool.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! We what would you have for McDonald's if you had $3? And then the other question is this: if you could go to school for any crazy new degree, if it's underwater like basket weaving or something like that, if you could go to school for like any degree so that you could have the job of your choosing, other than a pastor, because I know that's our dream job.
Yeah.
What would your dream job, or what would your schooling be?
See, I don't know if it would be a job. I think it would be cool to like do like some cooking classes or like barbecue, smoking type classes.
That's fair.
And learn that art a little bit more, because I enjoy doing that. It would just be fun to do that. I don't know that I'd want to do that as a full-time thing, as a job. So that's what I'd say.
You're already very good at barbecuing and smoking.
Well, I could definitely be better, though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You can always be better. Oh, Jen Ostermeyer said $1 cheeseburger and $1 drink. Okay, and then you're saving the $1 for something else. Hey, my dad's watching.
How about that?
How about that indeed? So, Dad, if you had $3 to spend at McDonald's, what would you get? And the other question was, if you could go and learn anything.
Yeah, take any classes.
Take any classes that you wanted to. What would those classes be?
So what was yours?
Does this work? I don't know.
Maybe.
If that switches.
We'll see.
Oh, you can't turn your phone while live. That's...
Yep, there you go.
Okay. My class that I would probably learn would be something like how to fish. I would want to learn how to fish, I think.
I think Pastor Ray offers a class on that.
Pastor Ray does offer a class on that.
Yeah.
But, Dad went with burger, fries, and a hot fudge sundae.
Ooh.
You're right on. Right on. Cool. Nifty. All right.
Shall we get to it?
Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to Lunchtime Live. If you are just getting started with us, we are about to start talking about our next Habitude. Pastor Mark, tell us about our Habitude.
So our Habitude for today, if you remember all, kind of what we've been doing is walking through these different leadership principles that are laid out for us by Dr. Tim Elmore in these books, using kind of an image for each one of those to make them sticky, to help us understand them and remember them better. And so today the one we're going to do is called Pop Quiz. always everybody's favorite thing, right? When you were in school was that pop quiz, that thing that you weren't expecting a quiz that day. You thought you were just coming in to sit there and maybe half pay attention. And then the teacher says, okay, take out your pencil and paper. We're going to take a pop quiz. And everybody's like, oh, man. And the reality is in life, right? But I guess going back to that, staying on that, the reason the teacher did that was not just to make your life miserable, though that's what you thought and it felt like, okay? Is that the teacher was just trying to make your life miserable. But for a good teacher, pop quizzes were an opportunity for you as a student to show and share, to display what you learned, how you were growing. It was a way for them to see your growth and development, and to give you an opportunity to show that and to grow through that. And in the same way, in life and as leaders, remember you all are leaders because you all have influence. A leader is someone with influence. And so no matter where you are leading. The question is, how are you leading, right? How are you influencing others? And so as a leader too, right? These are these different experiences in life where these challenges, these pains in life pop up, and we are challenged with this. And our initial reaction is just like those pop quizzes, right? Ugh, why is this happening? This is the worst thing ever, right? But when we can flip kind of the narrative on that and see pop quizzes as an opportunity for us to grow and an opportunity for us to show how we have grown and to show our leadership and to play that out, that helps. I mean, that changes that, and that helps us to deal with those in a healthy way. And so leaders understand that the challenges in leadership, the challenges in life that come at us aren't just these negative things that we should avoid, but they are opportunities for us to be able to influence others in a positive way.
Yeah, I think as we talk about pop quizzes, I think there are things that we all know about pop quizzes, but it's probably beneficial to be said. And one of those is that we all experience pop quizzes. Every single one of us experiences tests, and oftentimes those tests come before times of growth. In some way, you and I, each one of us, we have to pass tests in life to grow as leaders, to grow in influence, to grow in the way that we live and share our witness. We know that our goal should be to pass every test. And sometimes you think about like, well, what does it mean to pass a test? In the times of life that we're going through, in the tests that we have, what does it mean to win? What does it mean to pass that test? And I want to get into that in just a few minutes. But another thing that we know about tests is that tests always precede promotion. And that it is through tests that God creates in us an ability to move forward. And so when we look at how our lives are wrapped up in just a series of tests, it's all about how God is working in us to grow us and to move us into a being that's more like Him. Pastor Mark?
Yeah, and I think of, when we talk about it spiritually, right? We think of the parable of the talents, right? Is kind of this communicating of those. There was this test that was given there, right, to each of the servants to, hey, how are you going to utilize what you've been given? And for those that passed the test, right, the first two, the master gave more to them, right? A promotion. He entrusted more to them because they showed through that test their faithfulness and their in living out what the master had set forth for them.
So maybe the question for you today, as we get started, we're talking about pop quiz. Hi, Riley. We're talking about pop quizzes. Maybe the question is, what do you feel like is a test that you're going through right now? What does it feel like? And Pastor Mark and I kind of came up with a few that we thought that, we as individuals were going through, and more importantly, not more importantly, but, also, what is it that we feel like the tests of the church are going through? What are the tests that the churches are going through right now? And, one of those things I think is this. Tests are things that brings anxiety. So if you look for anxiety, you often find test. One of the things that brings anxiety is this whole pandemic. How are we using this pandemic as a test? And I think what it comes down to is we can see tests as a stepping stone, or we can see tests as a gravestone. You know what I'm saying? That test can either be a stepping stone, we could use it to grow, or we can use it to just be done and quit. And when we look at this pandemic, the question is, how do we use it as a stepping stone as opposed to a tombstone? How do we say, you know what? How do we grow out of this pandemic as opposed to how do we just stop and stop doing anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so in each of these, with the pandemic, and I think it comes back for us as a church, right? What we say we're about is loving God, building the home, changing the world, right? And so how are we, right, in the midst of the pandemic, in the ways that we adhere or don't adhere to guidelines, or in the ways that we respond to all of this, how are we, through our actions and our words, are we communicating the love of Jesus, right? Are we helping people experience the love of God? Are we doing things that help people build their homes in the midst of that, right? Are we coming alongside others, and even in our own homes? Are we seeking to do things that bring the change in the world that Jesus calls us to bring, right? Of heaven breaking in to earth, of the kingdom of God coming here and now in and through us as his children, of people that bring the love, the joy, the forgiveness and mercy, the peace of God through our words and actions.
So Pastor Mark is usually the gospel guy, and I get to be the law guy, and so I think about ways that we're spending our time with these tests of like the pandemic, right? This test of our society going through this disunification, even when it's talking about racial topics, and how we often think of this as a tombstone, right? This is, but it's really, all of these topics are stepping stones of how we can show people how to better love God, build a home, and change the world, and how they're better loved by God. I mean, how are we using this time in the pandemic to communicate that people are loved by God? And, I struggle with face masks because they fog up my glasses, and I struggle with them. But is wearing a face mask an opportunity to communicate love to people? And I think it is. I think it is. And I think if we don't say anything, if we don't speak up about people who are feeling oppressed, people who are feeling misvalued and undervalued, if we don't speak up and communicate to them they are loved and they are valued, then we're seeing this as a tombstone rather than a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. Because this is an opportunity for God to move in us. I want to read Angie's comment. It says, "Are we willing to adapt to the changes of meeting together? Are we willing to gather online? Are we willing to sign up and attend church?" Those are all interesting topics, and I agree with you, Angie, that's a whole part of this, right? Is that how do we take this opportunity to set our desires and our needs aside for the sake of people that are not like us.
Well, I wasn't here for the whole topic last week, but I think it goes back to that, right? Radical hospitality requires me to be uncomfortable, right? And it requires me to step in sometimes to those uncomfortable places and to seek the good of others in that. I mean, I know, we're kind of stepping into some things that, all of these topics have become so politically charged, and I think of the racial tensions in our society, and there's a lot of different views out there about that, and it is very politically charged, and in some ways, right, it's right that it is, because, well, some of it has to do with the way our government is structured potentially, and all of that. And so politics do come into it. But we as the church, right, our response is not primarily based on political things, but it's primarily based on who we are as children of God, and what our God, how he sees people, and what does justice look like to him, and what has he spoken, what does he want us to communicate as his people primarily. And so I think, you talk about, that it's clear that, there's a group of people that feel like they are not valued, that they are not seen as worthwhile, as human even, as the rest of people. And you may agree with that or not agree with that, right? But I think that's beside the point, right? Because I think about my son, Ezra, right? Or Noah, if either of my sons came to me and communicated to me that they did not feel valued by me, that I didn't really, I was failing at showing them love and care that they deserve, right? I would at least, as a loving father, as someone who claims to love, right? I would at least be willing to engage in a conversation with them to understand better why they don't feel valued by me, right? I would at least do that. And then once I hear why it is that they don't feel valued, right? I would probably ask more questions about that, because maybe I don't exactly understand why that thing that I'm doing or not doing doesn't, makes them feel unvaluable. But so then I would ask questions. So why does that, And so I think the same thing for us as a church. One of the best things we can do to show love and care of Jesus is to engage in conversations, to begin to try
this opportunity to show that, because he wants to grow us in that. He wants to use us in new and exciting ways. He wants to promote his love to the entire world through us. And so in doing this test and working through this, are we back? We're back. So I don't know where I lost you, but this is an opportunity for God to use us. This is an opportunity for our King to show us. And I think sometimes we fail the test of showing the love of God.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I look at some Facebook posts of friends. I look at some Facebook posts of church members and friends. I'm kind of embarrassed by them, because the truth is we're not showing love in the way that we communicate. We're just not. And so the challenge for us is, how do we use this as a stepping stone to better understand how we can show love, how we can communicate love, not just to people who feel like they should wear masks, or to people who don't feel like they should wear masks. This isn't just an opportunity to start showing love to people who feel undervalued, or people who feel like they're being undervalued. It's an opportunity to show love to everyone, to show how God is working through us. And this is the big thing. God promises that his word is not going to return void. And we know that God is going to continue to show love, even when we mess up. The prayer is, how do we get better? Jesus, make us better at showing love. Make us more like you. So maybe that's a question, is for you today, how can you show love better? How can you use the tests that you're going through in life to help grow you? And I would invite you, comment on that, because that's a tough conversation to have, but it's a good conversation to have. Let's see. Denise says, thank you for bringing this up. If we don't wear masks, those that are physically vulnerable for left out of the valuable experience of worship. And see, this is the thing, is we don't want anybody to feel left out.
Yeah.
We want each person to understand the value that they have, because they have inherent value. Mm-hmm. Every person has inherent value because God created them and God made them exactly the way that they are. And so we need to be able to communicate that and show that. What is one thing you can do today to show someone the value that God has created in them?
Yeah, so I think what I've been convicted of is I just need to I need to be willing to make time and to step into having conversations with people. I talk about being genuinely curious, and sometimes whether it's I'm feeling tired and worn out or whatever other excuse, I fail to be genuinely curious with other people. And it's only when I do that I'm going to grow, right? And I'm going to understand, and I'm going to have some of those conversations where I can, and being able to to listen and be genuinely curious, communicates love to others in huge ways. Your turn, Pastor Bill.
Jenny said she helps show value by expecting the best, expecting them to be their best. And I think that's great. That's an idea of saying, hey, I expect this of you. And I think there's a second piece to that too, of showing forgiveness when they're not their best. Because certainly there's an expectation that's placed on us, right, to be as Christ-like as we can be. But there is forgiveness and there is grace when we
be perfect as your Father is perfect, right?
Pastor Mark just Bible versed you, us, all of us. Michelle McCoy says, "Hey, when I wear a mask, I try to smile at people, and now I have to watch their eyes to see if they smile back." And that's true. Is maybe this is an opportunity to become more attentive
to nonverbals.
We have a community, a culture that is so focused on verbals.
Yeah.
Right? We think we have to communicate through words. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's that communicating through nonverbals that is something that we can grow in and learn in.
Yeah, I love that, Michelle, that opportunity you just heightened there, that, you're growing and noticing more of those nonverbal cues. And that just helps us even more as we connect with others, when we can see all of that and use all of that to be able to better connect with people.
Yeah.
Love it.
Angie said, I smile at strangers. You don't know what type of day they're having, and a smile may turn their day around. That is absolutely true. I've been blessed. This morning, I went by Starbucks, and somebody bought my drink before me, and it was a really big blessing, and it made my day. And they had no idea what kind of day I was having, and my hope is that maybe I can do the same too, just through random acts of that hospitality that we talked about last week.
Okay. So your challenge, what is one way that you can show that love, right, in the midst of this, as you go about today, this week? Also remembering that to reframe, right, these challenges in life that face us, that we see them not as, the worst horrible things that could ever happen. Maybe they are really challenging and they're tough and they're really sucky things, right? Not downplaying that, but being able to see that God is giving us an opportunity in that for growth, and an opportunity to shine his love, his light to this world, in the ways that we respond to that, and our trust and faith in him.
Church, we love you so much. We're so blessed to be a part of this family. God has really blessed us to be together. And I thought about this the other day, and it's a tough thought, but we don't have Pastor Eric with us anymore. But we're so blessed to have each other, to have you guys, and to have us. We are in this together. We're supporting one another. Let's love one another, and let's show the love of Jesus to everyone, because it's not just this church community that's all in this together. It is this world. We're in this together. So let's continue to shine the light of Jesus so that people can know that they're valued, that they're loved, that they're cared for. Amen. Go in peace.